Okay, did it happen? Did it happen? Let me check my mic really quick. Chickadee chickadee check 1 2. Is that the right microphone? I think it is. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Hopefully everyone can see me. If I could, I would do the entire stream like this with just the echo of my microphone in my ears because I don't know why it brings me joy. Um, Please excuse just my hair, my general look and demeanor. It's been a long couple weeks. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for clicking on this here live broadcast of What You Readin' For, which is a podcast live stream series show thing where I talk about books that I've read and generally just trying to kind of get my thoughts out there on the books themselves. I try to let you guys know in advance what books I'm going to be reading and what books are going to be coming up on the show, in the future so that you guys have a chance to read them hopefully first. I don't really do a great job at like letting you guys know when these live stream series or these live streams are going to happen so that you can participate in them, but that's just kind of, I don't get paid to do any of this. This is just what I do for fun. So today, as you might have been able to tell by the thumbnail / title, we're talking The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. This is a very tiny little thin, it's hard to even qualify this as a book because it's more of just like I guess you might call it like a novella or like a, something's happening. Well, it looks good on my end. I don't know, man. YouTube has been just like, it's the YouTube apocalypse right now. Which again is good for me because I don't, well, it's not good for me, but because I don't depend on YouTube for a living, I don't care as much if it crumbles to the ground. Where some people who depend on YouTube for an income, it's real bad right now. Anyhow, yeah, this is a really tiny little book. I read this back in April, I think. It's been a while since I read this. Again, this is sort of part of my attempt at speed running through some of the books that I've read in the recent future so I can kind of get caught up with what I'm reading now so that my thoughts on the book are a little bit more fresh when it comes to the live stream because it's something I've read recently. So this I read a while ago. Spoiler alert, I absolutely loved it. This was one of the best pieces of sci-fi writing I think I've ever read. I enjoyed it quite a bit. This copy, let's actually find out. Also, if I'm like yelling at the top of my lungs, it's because my ears are a little clogged up from being in the swimming pool yesterday. So it looks like this copy was from 1982, I think. This was given to me by a friend many years ago, and I never read it. Again, this was sort of during a time period where I just didn't do a whole lot of reading in general. And then, it's kind of just come with me, every time I've moved, every time I've unpacked and unpacked my bookshelf with all my books. It was just one of those books that it's like, well, eventually at some point this will get read. And it got read a couple months ago. I really enjoyed it. I mean, the basic bare bones of the plot. Also, I try to stay away from this type of warning in general because the point of this series really is to talk about the book in its entirety, and I don't really try to stay away from spoilers really. So I'm probably not going to stay away from spoilers for this book today. Though I will say this book, I think absolutely should be read. I think I think it warrants you going into the story with no knowledge of what happens. Just read it, and then come on back here, and we can discuss it. But I mean, it's such a great little tale that I think it warrants having kind of no prior knowledge going in. So if you've clicked on this live stream and you've never read The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, go read it and then come on back over here. Again, it's like 120 pages long or something like that. Not even. I think it's like 110 pages. Very short read. So let's talk about it. Again, spoiler alert. So don't, don't blame me if you get the story spoiled for you. You should read this book. This book largely revolves around a group of kind of like, I don't want to say like elite, but kind of like, members of academia, I suppose, that have all gathered at the house of this kind of eccentric scientist who, has, unbeknownst to them, invented a time machine. And he kind of like explains, what the time machine can do, what it does, all this stuff. A lot of people don't believe him. And again, if I get anything wrong, it's just because, it's been a while since I read this book. A couple months now. But the long and short of it is like he basically invites everyone like, hey, if you don't believe me, I'll show you that it's real. But to kind of summarize here, let me actually drink some water. I'm freaking dying of thirst over here. The long and short of it is that like the time traveler, as he's called, the guy who invents the time machine, gets launched so far into the future of humanity, like the future of Earth, I suppose. He overshoots like where he intended to land, basically. And he lands so far in the future that humanity has become these kind of like little fleshy creatures that aren't really like very concerned with like predators. They're not very concerned with like production or kind of like industry or anything. Humans have become kind of like creatures of leisure. They've become creatures of laziness and kind of like, pleasures of the flesh kind of creatures. And, they're like almost unrecognizable to like modern humanity. Their language is so much different from ours that he kind of like spends a little bit of time trying to learn their language and kind of try to figure out how he can communicate with them. Yeah, I mean the majority of the short book that it is kind of concerns him just sort of exploring the world of these new humans and figuring out what they're all about and trying to figure out a way home, because he's like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know like where I am, when I am, all of this stuff. And so in classic kind of time travel fiction fashion, he spends a lot of time trying to figure out how he's going to get home. He befriends one of the humans. What are they called? They're called I think he has a name for them, but I'm having trouble remembering what it is. Is it the Morlocks, or is the Morlocks the? I think the Morlocks are the kind of underground, like, variation of these creatures. Essentially, what happens is at the end, towards the end of the book, again, spoiler alert, the time traveler kind of figures out that, like, the Morlocks, which are these underground creatures that have branched off from humanity, the Morlocks are essentially like the labor class of the like the working class of the society, and the humans that are above ground are the, like, the bourgeoisie, right? The owning class, more or less, and that these two branches of humanity kind of evolved because of their relations to the means of production. I wonder if I can find a quote, because there was like a paragraph or two where he really just kind of sums up like what this all, how he kind of came to this conclusion. Um, um, Man, it was really good too. Let me try to find it. Um, okay. I'll read this passage. I'm not sure that it's exactly the one that I'm looking for, but um, it's I think it's a good example of sort of the style of writing that this is written in. I want to say too that this, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that H.G. Wells was a um, big influence on Lovecraft, and if that's true, I think this is a great story to kind of understand why. The tendency to view science with a kind of like jaded skepticism, and to worry about the implications of certain scientific discoveries, and the horror that can come from this kind of weird science sort of element, I think is very Lovecraftian. And as I was reading it, I was reminded of the few stories of Lovecraft that I've read. But let me go ahead and read a little bit here. And just as a reminder, Weena is the human that the time traveler has kind of befriended to help him navigate this new society. So that's who Weena is. I awakened Weena, and we went down into the wood, now green and pleasant instead of black and forbidding. We found some fruit wherewith to break our fast. We soon met others of the dainty ones, laughing and dancing in the sunlight, as though there was no such thing in nature as the night. And then I thought once more of the meat that I had seen. I felt assured now of what it was, and from the bottom of my heart I pitied this last feeble rill from the great flood of humanity. Clearly, at some time in the long ago of human decay, the Morlocks' food had run short. Possibly they had lived on rats and such like vermin. Even now, man is far less discriminating and exclusive in his food than he was, far less than any monkey. His prejudice against human flesh is no deep-seated instinct, and so these inhuman sons of men, I tried to look at the thing in a scientific spirit, After all, they were less human and more remote than our cannibal ancestors of 3 or 4 thousand years ago, and the intelligence that would have gone made this state of things a torment. And the intelligence that would have made this state of things a torment had gone. Why should I trouble myself? These Eloi were mere fatted cattle, which the ant-like Morlocks preserved and preyed upon, probably saw to the breeding of. And there was Weena dancing at my side. Then I tried to preserve myself from the horror that was coming upon me, by regarding it as a rigorous punishment of human selfishness. Man had been content to live in ease and delight upon the labors of his fellow man, had taken necessity as his watchword and excuse, and in the fullness of time, necessity had come home to him. I even tried a Carlyle-like scorn of this wretched aristocracy in decay, but this attitude of mind was impossible. However great their intellectual degradation, the Eloi had kept too much of the human form not to claim my sympathy, and to make me perforce a sharer in their degradation and their fear. The Eloi, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is the name that he gives the future humans. That's probably about all I want to read, because again, this thing is a real mindfuck. This little tale that H.G. Wells tells. I mean, I don't know how much time travel fiction had been written before this book, but this to me is like the definitive time travel story. It is so good. It is so, the story itself is great, obviously, but, and as I think I've mentioned in the past, the best books to me are books that try to communicate something to you, the reader, as you're reading it. And as you're digesting the story, you might begin to gain an appreciation for the worldview of the writer and glean some kind of message from the fiction itself. The overarching kind of messages that I get from The Time Machine are that the human tendency toward luxury and ease and to sort of cast off the laborious nature of labor, that instinct is actually what is going to lead to humanity's kind of downfall. I don't really know H.G. Wells's political leanings, though if I had to guess, I would guess that he probably landed somewhere in the realm of socialist. I'm not like 100% certain on that, but certainly the vision of humanity being degraded by their sort of bourgeois kind of like aversion to hard work and things of that nature. I think that speaks to the kind of the mindset of someone who would appreciate the workers for the things that they do. And using that metaphor or that theme to kind of push forward a narrative where the labor force is quite literally like feeding off of the bourgeois by like using them as cattle, I think is just, it's just really good writing. It's the type of writing that I really like, where you begin with the point you want to make and you expand out from there to build the world that the story takes place in, and you tell a compelling narrative that also communicates something about the way you look at reality. These, in my opinion, are the best stories. I don't really know if I have much else to say about the Time Machine. It was awesome. It's something I probably am gonna come back to, like revisit at some point. Um, uh, I certainly wouldn't mind coming back to this and giving it a reread at some point because it really was that good. It's something that I think, in my mind, now when I'm looking to recommend something to someone, that's interested in sci-fi or interested in, getting back into reading or something. That's the cool thing too, is that it's very short and it's not, although it does use flowery language, it's not like exceedingly hard to pick up on. Like the language that he uses is really not like particularly difficult to pick up on. So I think it's a really great book for like, I wouldn't even like shy away from recommending this to like kids. Like this could be a great like young adult kind of story for kids to read. But certainly anybody who's like looking to get back into reading, this is pure this is pure catnip right here. Like it's very uh, uh, it's not dull, and it's not it tries to get across a point. Um, that I think is probably going to be it for The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I loved it. Go read it if you haven't read it already. Like right this second, go get a copy of this book and read it. Next book on the list is going to be Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I am very much looking forward to doing that episode. It might be this week, but I'm not 100% sure. But keep an eye out for around this time of day, checking out Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson right here on What You Reading For. Boom, folks. If you like this video, please make sure to like it. If you have thoughts on H.G. Wells, The Time Machine, or on the show in general, please make sure to drop them down in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe so that you get notified when I go live for another episode of What You Reading For. And we will see you next time.